There is a village, forgotten by maps, carved between the cold ribs of the Black Forest, called Grubenheim. The fog there never lifts. It's as though the trees themselves exhale it. They say Grubenheim is cursed, not because of war or plague, but because every child is taught the same lullaby before they learn to speak. A lullaby that ends with the words, "She weeps beneath the birch tonight. Pale mother waits beyond the light." This is the story of Matthias Heller, a young priest sent to serve a village that didn't ask for salvation, only silence. Father Matthias arrived on foot. No carriage would take him farther than the forest's edge. The road was swallowed by vines, and no birds sang overhead. The villagers greeted him with wary eyes as if they'd been waiting for someone, but not him. The church stood in the center of the village, hunched and crooked. Inside, it reeked of mildew and wax. Beneath the altar was a trapdoor nailed shut with iron nails, its edges blackened like charred wood. That night, as he prepared his first sermon, a child wandered into the church, barefoot, wide-eyed, and humming the lullaby. "Who is the pale mother?" Matthias asked gently. The girl whispered, "She takes the children who hear her cry. She lives in the birchwoods under the hill." Then she turned, walked backward out of the church, and vanished into the fog. Over the next week, Matthias saw strange things. Children drawing stick figures with empty eyes and weeping faces. Old women hanging birch twigs above doorways like talismans. A woman named Elsbeth who sat rocking an empty cradle night after night, her baby long dead. Villagers avoided the woods after dark, but one night, drawn by a distant, high-pitched crying, Matthias ventured past the edge of the trees. There, beneath a dead birch, he found a tiny grave. It had no marker, just a doll with a split porcelain face staring upward. Suddenly, the trees quieted. Then came a sound, not a cry, but a long, gasping sob, as though something enormous had taken its first breath in centuries. Matthias fled. In the rectory's cellar, Matthias discovered a journal belonging to Father Kranz, his predecessor, presumed dead. She was a woman once, a mother. But grief carves more deeply than sin. When her child died, the villagers said she made a deal. Not with God, but with something older beneath the forest. Each year she must be mourned, or she comes to collect mourning. Her body was buried beneath the church, but the grief grew teeth. He realized the iron-nailed trapdoor beneath the altar was not to keep something out, but to keep her in. That Sunday, Matthias insisted the villagers attend a service. They came in silence, faces drawn tight with dread. He began the sermon, but the church suddenly went cold. Every candle snuffed itself out. From beneath the floorboards came a sound of weeping, so soft it almost sounded like wind. But then she rose. Through the cracks in the trapdoor, long white fingers reached. Wood split. A figure emerged, 8 feet tall, her skin ashen and thin, her face hidden behind a veil of wet black hair. Her arms were wrapped in soiled linen, like a mother who never stopped swaddling a child. She moved slowly, but the grief that followed her felt like drowning. Several villagers dropped to their knees, weeping uncontrollably, sobbing out names of children long dead. Matthias stood before her, clutching the crucifix. She raised a hand, not to strike, but to touch his face. "Why do you mourn?" she asked. Her voice was the sound of dirt over coffin wood. "I don't," he whispered. Her hand fell. The pale mother stepped back into the trapdoor, leaving behind only her veil. The next morning, the veil was gone. So was the trapdoor. No one spoke of it. But Matthias began a tradition. Each year on the longest night, he held a funeral mass, not for the living, but for the grief of the village. He made them remember so they wouldn't have to forget. And in time, the lullaby changed. She weeps beneath the birch no more. Her grief now kept behind the door, but every so often on windless nights, the church bells ring by themselves. And in the woods beneath the oldest birch tree, a porcelain doll turns its face to the stars, smiling.